the year 2017, and I want to talk to you about my favorite phrase. Favorite phrase from right now is stay woke. Urban Dictionary says, deriving from stay awake, to stay woke is to keep informed of the shitstorm going on around you in times of turmoil and conflict, specifically on occasions when the media is being heavily filtered. So in 2017 we have stuff that really is not featured on the news. People don't really announce it other than on social media where, you know, we all talk to each other and find out what's going on. And right now one of the things that is highly being debated in the field of education is separation of church and state. So at this time there is like a forbidden clause that does not allow for funding for religious institutions, aka schools, and there are education choice advocates, people who are wanting school vouchers to take over. For example, tax subsidies would be used for each student to have a voucher, and they'd have a choice to choose what school they'd want to go in. Cool, families can choose, you know, public schools, private schools, charter schools, magnet schools. And at first I was like, yeah, they're onto something. Like, it's really cool that, you know, people want to, you know, even if you're siding with Trump, you like, these people, what they want is for their children to go to school. They like want them to go to a better school, one where, you know, they're ensured like a prosperous future, they have like everything they need, like ideally, right? And this is where it gets interesting. So they did studies at Notre Dame, and students who did switch from a public to a private school within from one year to the next, they statistically did worse in math. And it is unfortunate that, you know, right now we only are able to test based off of like standardized tests, because in my opinion that doesn't really show how smart anybody is. Regurgitating information doesn't really tell you how intelligent anybody is, whether like mentally, emotionally, physically. Like, over a test does not, in my opinion, tell you everything about a person, and that's unfortunate, but that's the data that we do have at this time. And Louisiana students, they did a study in Louisiana where elementary students were ranked 50th percentile in the nation, and then it dropped down to 26%. So for me, I'm just thinking, okay, if they've already done this and it hasn't been working, and they have done this in other states, why are we pushing it now? Like, that's just what I'm thinking. Why push it if it's statistically just not going well? So for me, I've already long-term been in a special education class that is specifically who I'd love to advocate for. There are just a ton of disadvantaged students who don't get all of the help that they need because there's no one there to really advocate for them, maybe. And here I'm not saying that I'm completely for or against public education. I'm just saying there are some faults that are not noticed or publicized, which is unfortunate, like in the main media. For example, and that's why I want to do my PhD in this, but for example, in my opinion, I think it kind of deprives, it does deprive students of civil rights, and it lacks accountability for the private schools because they're not accountable by law to follow what the public schools civil rights laws are. So if you have a student who has special needs, if you have a student who is not fully capable of, you know, performing every physical activity that, you know, the normal, or not normal, but that fully capable students are able to do, then there's, like, when you go up to the admissions and say, hey, I'd like to enroll my student, they can say, oh, we're full, you know, have a nice day. But it's sad. Like, who wants their child denied from a nice school that maybe you want because of your religion, or maybe that you want because they have a science program that you'd love your child to learn from, but because your child has autism and they have behavior problems, like, they can't go there. They're gonna cost the school an additional $20 an hour to have a one-on-one person, and they just can't have that because they don't want to, and they don't have to follow the civil laws. They don't have to. So you're like, Liz, how does this relate to church and state? So if the school is spending on religious activities, which, I mean, hey, that's cool if that's what you want your student to do and you think that's what's best for your kid. But what happens is when one student gets plucked and he wants to go to another school, then this school that was over here, they don't have as much money going to that school. So originally when your child was supposed to go to this school, now they're going to the other school, and that school over here is more rich because they have a bunch of students that want to go there. But then the student over here, he's got the disabilities and he can't go to the nice school because they told him no. And too bad, you're going to be more disadvantaged than you were before because now the funds are going to the other school. You know, for me, I just want to make sure that students who do have disabilities or students who do end up staying at the public school system, that they don't suffer, that they don't, you know, like, we're already in financial devastation. Teachers don't even make that much money. Students don't even have like the best materials and the best books. We know that. But I don't want them to have even further financial devastation than we already have. And that's why I want to study this further. So for me, stay woke, it means so many things. Right now we live in a time where people go home and Netflix and like chill. They go home, they like sit there like super bored and they have nothing to do, so they look at the person next to them and they like do it because they're so bored. Like instead of like opening your legs, like bitch, open up your mind, open up a book, open up something that you like to read. Not necessarily read even, like go out there and do something for other people. If you care about humanity, if you care about, you know, sustaining our world, if you care about something other than yourself. And alright, so I know I'm a teacher, but I'm going to tell you to go out there and do your homework, inform yourself, because ain't nobody going to do it for you. And if like your future or your children's future or your nephews or like whoever the heck you care about's future is swept from their hands, like blame yourself.